interview with Lorraine Malach, July 1973.
When my mother gave me a pencil when I was 2, and I was drawing from 2 on, and that used to be a part of the play pastime. Drawing was something that you just did, like playing with dolls or everything else, and I used to make up my own stories and illustrate them. And also, we lived in an apartment, and it kept me quiet. When I was in grade 1, I was always drawing, and I got this label, artist, and that's all I thought I was. And every time there was anything coming up in school, I was always the one that was going to make the posters or to illustrate something, and I was always the one that won the prizes and got the highest marks. And it was a natural thing. It's something I really didn't ever question, which is kind of interesting. I really took that for granted. I automatically thought everyone did this and that everyone drew. And it started to come clear, I think, when I began to see that I could do that better than someone else. That some of the other children had aptitudes in mathematics, or they were better in some other area, but this was mine, and I knew this very early age. So it wasn't questioned. It was just there. I think the time I really started to question things was much later. I think you do examine things you've taken for granted all your life. You go through everything. You examine your religion, your politics, your way of living. And this came under fire as well. I began to question this. And also, too, I was terribly involved in music, and I had to really make up my mind which direction I was going to go. And it had to be made up pretty quickly because I was at the end of a school term, and I had to either go into this art school that was just being formed or go into music. So I had to make up this decision pretty quickly, and I did. And I think it was the second day I was in school, I knew that I was in the right direction again. So it was sort of, everything was falling into place, and it was planned for me. I've been working in wood carving, and also in graphics. I haven't done any lithographs because they're too heavy. I can't work the stones. Mostly painting, oil painting, watercolors, wood cuts, and egg tempera. Because when I was at school, I studied mural for a couple of years. So I was in the mural department, and I learned how to build walls. I started to work in clay because I found a certain amount of satisfaction in a three-dimensional medium. It was a more honest representation of line or form, in that line and form were realized in a three-dimensional way with the clay. And so there was a different approach to the thinking processes in rendering something. But the reasons for going into clay, I don't know. I never sat down and thought about it too much. It just happens to be there. It's living. It's a way of life. And when you're really living, you don't say, oh, I'm inhaling, oh, I'm exhaling. You just do it. And I think the more you do it, the more a part of you it becomes, until eventually it's the total. And so then you don't really justify the action of moving from clay to watercolor. It just happens to be the time to do it, you do it. My concept of reality is life. It's being alive. That's as real as you can get. As long as you're living, you can't escape it. So in accepting life, whatever you happen to do in that life is a part of life. Therefore, if you paint, or you're a doctor, or you're a baker, this is your reality. And you can't renege. A lot of people try to cop out, we say, but I think they're just postponing responsibility until they're prepared to meet it. The only way I think you can get out of life is by dying. And so, therefore, I don't think art is not an escape from reality, but it's an acceptance of reality. In that, as an artist, you're recognizing that you are one, and therefore you're doing something about it. Because this business of reality, a lot of people think that artists are locked up in a garret and they're starving and they're cranking out masterpieces and then they're cutting off their ears. Actually, the only time you're cutting yourself off from people is when you're working. I do that, but I was really pleased. I just finished reading something about Jericho. And Jericho, when he was painting the big raft of the Medusa, shaved off all his hair so he wouldn't go outside till it grew back. And that made him stay in so he could paint. We're all gregarious, and we all want people, and we all need people to give to take from. And when you're working, you can't be with people, you have to be by yourself. So you take all these precautions. I know I don't answer the telephone, I lock the door, keep the lights out. And for this, you see, you're dubbed eccentric, or people will say, well, you're hiding from reality, you're not facing reality. Well, this is the reality of hard work, which is very tough to face up to, but I don't think it's an escape at all. For me, work is what you like to do, and if you like to do it, you do it all the time. Labels are things that other people put on you. You don't put them on yourself. As I was saying before, when I was in grade 1, everybody was calling me artist. I never called myself an artist. I didn't even know what that was, or I wouldn't have called myself an artist. And even now, I get choked up when I have to use the word, because it means so much to me, this label. It means that you're carrying a flag that Michelangelo carried, and Rembrandt, and all the great artists, and it's very hard to be lumped into the same category. So if other people put labels on you, fine. Saskatchewan, well, this is a label usually Saskatchewan people put on you. Because it really doesn't mean anything to be called a Saskatchewan artist if you're living in Philadelphia or New York. They would think it was, if you called yourself a Saskatchewan artist in New York, they'd probably think you were from Hong Kong. And I don't think you have to label yourself either. If you really are so conscious of having to tell people what you are, I don't think you are that. No. If you have to tell people, if you are what you are, you're that without having to say so. And if someone wants to tag you with it afterwards, that's perfectly fine. I think wherever you are, there's a certain amount of the local influence rubbing off. But I found, for me personally, that traveling helped me discover that influences are universal, that there are bigger influences. There are bigger influences than local influences, and they have to do with human values, and that people are people wherever you go, so that living in a particular location, you're still dealing with broad human values that have application in London or in France or anywhere in the world, really. There's a certain amount of physical influence here, the climate. I find that, I don't know, I'm not a landscape artist that rushes out and sits in a field. When I was a student, I used to think that this was the way to do it. And not anymore, though. That was a part of it, to rush out and paint the prairies. That was the big thing at one time. But I think, for me, it was just a phase. That's another thing with the labels. You're a prairie artist.
Yeah, right.
And that really means one thing, that you paint. You paint with a ruler. You draw a horizontal line on a piece of paper, and you color the top blue and the bottom yellow. For influences, your first influences are with your fellow students. You're more or less weighing yourself against the other students to see where you are. And as you grow, you begin to weigh yourself against your teachers. And then I think the ultimate is you begin to weigh yourself against the masters. And that's the level where I think you sort of ease off. If I'm working on a mural commission, or I'm doing a mural, I start out with something small, because you have to work up your ideas to fit the size. You don't really just start something big and then walk up to the wall and begin. Sometimes it really varies. Sometimes I can jump right in and start, but usually I can do that better now because I have 20 years of backlog of throwing away hundreds and hundreds of things that didn't really work out. So that now it's a lot faster. It's the same thing with portraits. I don't have to sit and do 20 hours of detailed drawings, whereas I used to have to do this. There's a certain amount of preparation that goes on in your head. And then you see I'm working all the time, so I'm not really out of shape. And it's a lot easier then. Things just more or less fall into place. But a lot of times it's still very hard that you have an idea and it just doesn't materialize immediately on paper. And so you have to fight it out onto the paper. And sometimes that takes, a very long time. When I was working on Ophelia, that started about, that was about 2 or 3 months of thinking about it and working little ideas on paper. And there's one big canvas now that's sitting waiting, and I've waited 10 years to do it. It's 10 years coming, and it's in a couple of months it'll be on the canvas, but it's taken a long time too. With the retreat house one, I started with a series of very small sketches, and then I did a big master copy, the same size as the wall, on paper and watercolor and charcoal wash. And then I did a tracing from this, and this is the way I think Michelangelo used to work too. You poke holes in the tracing, and you powder chalk through the holes, and it leaves an impression on your plaster wall, and then you more or less follow the guidelines. So that was something that was sort of a technical step-by-step thing. But now I wouldn't do that at all. I wouldn't go through all the energy of making a duplicate. I am really pleased if somebody likes my work. At the same time, I find I don't learn very much from compliments. And that in the past, or right up to now, I would say that I get a lot of criticism and static from work when I do it. It's usually a lot of people don't like it. And over a period of about 10 years, the tide changes. With a few exceptions, I get a lot of, I don't know. Some people like your work, some people don't like your work, but it's very much the same as personal relationships with people. Some people like you, some people don't like you, and it has nothing to do with your physical makeup. You just don't get along fine. And I don't expect everybody to like my work. I'd like them to like it, but it doesn't really bother me that much. I think the artist has to be the one who knows what work is good and what work isn't good. And then also, when you have some really good work, sometimes I like to sit back and just enjoy it. This is a rare thing, because it's very hard to enjoy your own work. You're always finding something wrong or something should be changed. But once in a while, I get a few pieces that I can just sit back and enjoy, and that's a very good feeling. But there's another thing, too. I don't get that attached to a piece of work. There's a personal amount of involvement in a piece of work, but after it's done, and you go on to the next thing, because this whole business of living, there are always new exciting discoveries and new things to do, and so that you don't live with a foot in the past. The past is always there with you anyway. You don't have to wallow in it. And so therefore, everything is, sometimes the most exciting things that I've done are things I haven't done yet. They're wandering around in my head waiting to come out.
This is what I'm saying about living is a very difficult thing. You always want acceptance, I think. There's a great craving to be accepted. And
it sounds like you're in a fairly good way, and that you can look at your work and get this sort of mental.
I think the artist has to be the one who knows what work is good and what work isn't good. And then also, when you have some really good work, sometimes I like to sit back and just enjoy it. This is a rare thing, because it's very hard to enjoy your own work. You're always finding something wrong or something should be changed. But once in a while, I get a few pieces that I can just sit back and enjoy, and that's a very good feeling.